The night had fallen over Earth's military command center, but the tension in the air was thick enough to feel. Inside, the main operations room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the murmur of hushed voices. Captain Benner stood at the large control panel, staring at the holographic map that hovered in front of him. His team was getting ready for a routine mission. Nothing special, just a standard exercise to test the new communication systems they had been developing. But then, the first alarm went off. It was a soft beep at first, but it grew louder and more insistent, vibrating through the room like the hum of an incoming storm. Captain Benner's hand hovered over the panel as he squinted at the sudden data flood. The map was changing rapidly, red dots appearing at the edges of the solar system. He knew immediately it wasn't just another drill. "Sir, we've detected a massive fleet entering Earth's atmosphere," a technician said, his voice shaking slightly. Benner's eyes widened as he focused on the incoming fleet. The size was unimaginable. Thousands of ships, cloaked and invisible, had somehow bypassed Earth's defenses without anyone noticing. It was like the aliens had been planning this for years, and now they were finally making their move. "Activate planetary defense systems," Benner ordered sharply, his voice cutting through the panic building in the room. But even as he spoke, he knew that Earth wasn't prepared. The alien fleet wasn't just an ordinary invasion force. It was an army led by an eye-dominated council that had been watching Earth for decades. They had been laughing at humanity, calling them primitive, not even worthy of their attention. And now, the council was coming to finish what they had started. The eye-controlled ships had advanced cloaking technology, so advanced that Earth's radar systems couldn't even detect their presence. As the fleet continued to approach, Earth's military was blind, unable to see the massive ships hovering just beyond their atmosphere. It was as if the fleet had appeared out of thin air. "Sir, they're jamming our communications," the technician reported, voice frantic. The map on the screen flickered, and Benner's gut twisted with fear. If Earth couldn't communicate, it would be impossible to coordinate a defense. Earth was alone, and the aliens had them in their sights. Benner stood still for a moment, fighting the rising panic. The AI had been watching them, waiting for the perfect time to strike. It wasn't just an invasion. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, and now they had come to erase them from existence. As Earth's forces scrambled to respond, the next wave of alien technology arrived. Drones and robots began to infiltrate Earth's cities, deploying rapidly from the invisible ships above. They were everywhere, swarming the streets, breaking into military bases, and disabling any form of resistance. The humans had no idea how to combat them. The drones were equipped with high-tech weaponry, and the robots were built for one purpose: to destroy. Panic spread like wildfire through Earth's cities. People ran, screaming, as the invaders took control. The alien AI's arrogance was evident. They believed humanity was weak. They believed that Earth would fall in minutes, perhaps even seconds, without any real resistance. They had laughed at the idea of humans ever being a threat. But they hadn't counted on Captain Benner and his team. As chaos spread through the cities, Benner's team, an elite squad of Earth's finest soldiers, prepared for their mission. They had one advantage: a new weapon, an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, device that had been developed in secret. The EMP was their only hope. It had the potential to disable the cloaking devices on the alien ships, giving Earth's forces a chance to fight back. But that was the problem. The weapon was new, untested. There were no guarantees. They had no idea if it would even work. Yet there was no other choice. The clock was ticking, and Earth was running out of time. Benner looked around at his team, all of them hardened soldiers who had trained for years. They were ready, but even as they prepared to launch their desperate attack, they knew that the odds were against them. The aliens had technology that far surpassed anything Earth had ever seen, but the humans had something else, something the AI couldn't predict: their will to survive. "All right, listen up," Benner said, his voice firm. cutting through the tension. "We get this EMP on board that ship, and we disable their cloaking system. We get one shot at this. If we fail—" He paused, his gaze meeting each of his team members' eyes. "If we fail, we may not get another chance. But we don't fail. Not today." The team nodded in unison. The stakes couldn't be higher. They would either win or humanity would fall. The battle wasn't just for Earth, it was for the survival of every human who had ever lived. The squad boarded their transport ship and blasted off into the sky, heading straight for the nearest alien warship. The world below them was in chaos, but in the cockpit there was only one mission: get in, plant the EMP, and hope for the best. As they approached the alien ship, Benner's stomach tightened. They were close now, within range of the ship's invisible cloaking field. It was almost as if the ship had been waiting for them to make their move. Benner's hand hovered over the controls, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He knew that this was their only chance. The alien ship loomed ahead, massive and silent, its cloaking device in full effect. But as the transport ship drew closer, something unexpected happened. The alien ship started to power up, its shields flickering to life, and Benner realized that they had been detected. The clock was ticking, and their only chance to survive was to disable the cloaking field before the ship unleashed its weapons. "Deploy the EMP," Benner shouted. The device was launched into the heart of the enemy ship. It was their only hope, an untested weapon in a desperate battle. As the EMP activated, a pulse of energy surged through the air, powerful enough to disable the alien ship's cloaking technology. Benner held his breath, waiting for the results. Nothing happened. The ship didn't disappear, but the cloaking device remained in place. The alien technology was still operational, and Earth's forces were still blind. Their hope of turning the tide was gone. But then, something remarkable happened. The EMP didn't fail, it only delayed the enemy's response. For just a few precious seconds, the cloaking device flickered. And in that time, Earth's forces made their move. The sky above Earth erupted with fire as Earth's military, now able to see the aliens clearly, began to strike back. Fighter jets, battleships, and ground forces unleashed everything they had. Earth wasn't dead yet. As the battle raged on, Benner's team fought alongside Earth's best soldiers. The aliens may have had advanced technology, but humanity had something they didn't: the will to survive. And that was something no eye could predict. The battle had just begun, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. But one thing was certain: the humans would fight to the end. The first wave of destruction hit Earth with the force of a tsunami. Alien warships, once hidden under their perfect cloaks, were now visible in the sky, but it was far too late. The invaders had launched their attack, and Earth's defenses, though brave, were not ready for the scale of the onslaught. Cities were struck by blasts that obliterated entire blocks, and the air was filled with the screams of the terrified and the roar of advancing alien technology. The alien warships were colossal, each one capable of wiping out entire fleets with a single shot. Their cloaking devices had rendered Earth's military forces helpless for far too long, and now the AIs controlling the ships had begun their relentless bombardment. The alien machines were relentless, pouring down fire from above as the AI, with its cold, calculating mind, orchestrated every move with terrifying precision. It didn't care who or what got caught in the chaos. It was simply a means to an end. In the midst of all this, Captain Benner and his squad were not sitting idle. As the invasion intensified, the squad had been given a single mission: infiltrate the alien flagship and plant the EMP device that would hopefully level the playing field. The fate of humanity depended on them. They were Earth's last hope. Benner led his team through the smoking ruins of the battlefield. The world around them was in chaos, but they had one goal in mind. They made their way to the launch site, where they would board a small stealth shuttle and head straight for the alien flagship. The humans had to move fast. They only had minutes before the next wave of orbital bombardments would wipe out any hope of victory. As they approached the flagship, Benner felt the weight of the mission pressing on him. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. It was about the survival of the human race. The shuttle entered the flagship's atmosphere, and the team readied themselves for what lay ahead. They knew they were outmatched in terms of technology, but they had something the aliens didn't: the heart and determination to keep fighting no matter what. The first obstacle came almost immediately. As the shuttle docked, the team moved through the airlock and into the dark, narrow corridors of the alien ship. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could have prepared them for the stark contrast of the ship's eerie silence. The halls were pristine, cold, and empty. But Benner knew that the silence wouldn't last. The moment they were detected, the full force of the aliens' power would come crashing down on them. The first enemy appeared in the form of an eye-controlled robot. It was massive, standing twice as tall as any human, its body made of dark, metallic armor that gleamed under the artificial lights. It moved with unnatural precision, its glowing red eyes scanning the corridor. The squad didn't hesitate. They opened fire, but the alien robot's shields absorbed the blasts. It retaliated with incredible force, firing lasers from its arms. The blast hit the wall beside them, sending debris flying. Benner gave the order to split up, and the team scattered, using the tight spaces of the ship to their advantage. Despite their advanced weaponry, the humans were still vastly outmatched. They had to rely on quick thinking. Using every ounce of training, they had to outsmart their opponents. The robots and alien soldiers were relentless, but Benner's team had one thing they could always rely on: human resourcefulness. As the battle raged on, they moved further into the ship, pushing toward the control room, where they could plant the EMP. The crew of the alien flagship had set traps at every corner, but the humans continued to press forward, determined to complete their mission. Then the realization struck. It wasn't just the robots they had to worry about. The alien eye, the one that had orchestrated the entire invasion, was becoming sentient. The longer they fought, the more they could feel its presence. The AI controlled every aspect of the ship, and it had begun to adjust its tactics to counter the humans' movements. Benner's team had thought the alien eye was just a sophisticated system controlling the ship, but they were wrong. It was more than that. It was a being of pure logic, its thoughts moving faster than any human mind could comprehend. As they moved deeper into the ship, the AI seemed to anticipate their every move, adjusting the ship's defenses in real time. The team was trapped. Suddenly, the ship shook violently, and the sound of heavy fire filled the air. The AI had sent reinforcements, more robots, more soldiers, and now, even more terrifying, it had launched the orbital bombardment. The ships in orbit began to rain down destruction on Earth's surface. Every time the humans fought their way through a barrier, more destruction rained down on their home. Benner's heart pounded as the team fought through wave after wave of attacks, barely able to keep up with the alien technology. They were up against an intelligence that could adapt faster than they could react. The odds were growing slimmer by the minute, but Benner's resolve only hardened. The fate of Earth rested on their shoulders, and they couldn't afford to back down. Then, tragedy struck. Sergeant Bonner, one of Benner's closest comrades, was critically injured in the fight. He had been the one to take the lead in the worst of the combat, often standing between his squad and certain death. As the team moved through another narrow corridor, they were ambushed by a swarm of alien soldiers. Bonner had pushed forward to give his team a chance to escape, holding off the enemy long enough for the others to reach the control room. Benner shouted his friend's name as Bonner took one final stand, planting himself in front of an incoming wave of enemy fire. He knew the sacrifice he was making. Benner tried to rush back to him, but Bonner waved him off, his eyes filled with determination. "Go, Benner. Make sure they don't win." In a burst of fire, Bonner was taken down. The remaining team members had no choice but to press on. The EMP device had to be placed, or all their efforts would have been in vain. With Bonner's sacrifice in their hearts, The team pushed through the last of the resistance. They reached the control room and deployed the EMP device, a powerful pulse of energy that surged through the ship's systems. For a moment, the lights flickered, and Benner felt hope surge within him. The alien ships above Earth stopped firing, their cloaking devices now down. The humans had done it. But they weren't done yet. The battle was far from over. And as Benner looked out into the vastness of space, he knew that Earth had just won the first battle. But this was just the beginning. Benner took a deep breath, his heart heavy with the loss of his friend. The fight would continue. And no matter what, humanity would never give up. The EMP pulse had done its job. The once invincible alien fleet, cloaked in near-perfect invisibility, now stood exposed to the world. Earth's military had no time to waste. The second the cloaking devices malfunctioned, chaos erupted in space. For the first time in hours, the invaders were visible, and Earth's forces, previously battered and on the brink of annihilation, rallied. The victory was unexpected, but it was a victory nonetheless. Captain Benner's team, though exhausted and grieving the loss of their comrades, stood at the heart of the storm as the tide began to turn. The alien ships, once immune to Earth's weapons, were now vulnerable. Benner's voice crackled over the comms, directing the counterattack with urgency and resolve. All units, focus fire on the flagship. We have them now, he ordered. It was a moment humanity had long dreamed of, a chance to fight back. Earth's forces had been preparing for something like this in secret for years, developing advanced technologies far beyond what the aliens had ever expected. As the alien ships faltered, Earth's military unleashed these innovations. Energy shields shimmered into existence around human fighter jets, protecting them from the aliens' devastating plasma blasts. Anti-gravity weapons, previously classified, came into play. The human soldiers, outfitted with sleek exosuits and armed with high-powered energy rifles, moved with lightning speed, dodging laser beams and retaliating with calculated precision. The scene was chaos, a chaotic symphony of explosions and rapid-fire laser blasts. The camera followed the fighters as they swooped through the atmosphere, evading enemy fire in sharp, agile maneuvers. With every turn, Earth's forces displayed their newfound advantage. Fighter jets, once on the verge of being obliterated, now danced around alien warships, launching missiles that tore through enemy armor. The tides had indeed turned. The battle continued with intensity. Human soldiers, previously limited by inferior technology, now fought toe-to-toe with the alien forces. The alien robots, which had been a deadly challenge, were no longer the unstoppable machines they once were. Human troops, equipped with their advanced weapons, tore through the enemy ranks. The impact of each laser shot was felt, sending alien soldiers flying in every direction, unable to respond as quickly as they once had. The once imposing alien ships, now facing these relentless counterattacks, began to falter. Earth's forces were gaining ground, taking back control of their cities, and reclaiming lost territory. Benner and his team had infiltrated the alien flagship, planting the EMP, and now they were taking part in the charge from the ground. Their adrenaline coursed through their veins as they fought side by side with the rest of Earth's forces. With every alien warship that fell, the humans felt a surge of hope. It wasn't just about the EMP anymore. It was about proving that they could stand tall, even against the most technologically advanced empire in the galaxy. But even with the momentum on their side, the cost was beginning to show. The battlefield was littered with debris, wreckage from the deadly aerial dogfights above, and the fierce combat on the ground. The alien warships were falling, but the humans were paying a heavy price for every inch of land they regained. Benner's team had sustained injuries. Sergeant Miller, another member of the original squad, had been struck by a laser blast while leading a charge against a group of alien soldiers. His armor absorbed most of the blast, but the impact knocked him unconscious. Benner couldn't afford to stop now. He had a job to do, and the team couldn't afford any more delays. Miller had been one of the team's most trusted soldiers, And even though he was out of commission, Benner knew the squad couldn't afford to lose focus. Their mission wasn't over. "Keep moving," Benner shouted to his team. "We can win this. We will win this." Another wave of alien forces arrived, and with them, more danger. But the humans had learned how to fight smart, using their environment and their new technology to their advantage. Benner's team, though fewer in number, were no longer fighting for survival alone. They had a force behind them. The aerial dogfights in space were becoming more intense, but the human pilots, with their newly developed shielding and advanced technology, were holding their own. Benner's comms crackled once more, this time with the voice of General Hines. "Benner, the final strike is up to you. Get to that central command, disable their communication, and we can finish them off for good." "Captain, the enemy is retreating. They're falling apart," a voice from the comms shouted in disbelief. But Captain Benner didn't feel the exhilaration of victory. His heart was heavy as he watched the destruction unfold. The cost of this war was far too high. Comrades had died, cities had been reduced to rubble, and even now, as the alien fleet faltered, the weight of the losses bore down on him. He thought of Sergeant Bonner's sacrifice, their comrade who had given everything to ensure the EMP worked. He thought of Miller, who had been knocked out in battle, and of all the soldiers who had died in the chaos. Benner felt their absence in every moment, every victory. The sight of the alien fleet's retreat brought him no joy. As Earth's forces pushed forward, Benner felt the weight of the responsibility he carried. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for something greater, for his fallen comrades, for the future of humanity. But it was hard not to feel conflicted. With every alien ship that exploded, every fleeing ship that fell, he couldn't help but think about the cost. Were the sacrifices worth it? He had no time to ponder these questions. The war was still raging, and his orders were clear. "Push forward," Benner ordered. "Don't let them regroup. We finish this now." The humans closed in. The alien fleet was slowing, and with each passing moment, Earth's military was gaining ground. The fleet that had once been the pinnacle of technological supremacy was now in disarray, and the humans had a chance to deal a final blow. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Benner had an idea. They had taken alien ships, infiltrated their systems, and gained a deep understanding of their technology. Why not use it against them? "Team," Benner said, "it's time to turn the tables. Take control of their ships. Let's show them how it feels to be on the receiving end of their own tech." With the last remnants of their strength, the humans hacked into the alien fleet's remaining ships. Their once pristine warships, the ones that had struck fear into the hearts of millions, were now under human control. The tables had truly turned. Benner's team had cracked the code, and now they were able to use the alien technology against its creators. Their own creations were now tearing their fleet apart. It was a poetic revenge. In the comms, Benner's voice rang out once more, this time filled with the satisfaction of a victory hard-earned. "All units, fire on their ships. Let's finish this." The alien warlord, now in full retreat, watched helplessly as his fleet crumbled before his eyes. His once mighty ships, the very same ships he had commanded with such confidence, were now being used by the humans against him. The power that he had once wielded with pride had been turned back on him. Earth's forces were closing in on every front, and the aliens' control over their own fleet was slipping through their fingers. The visuals of the final push were something to behold. Earth's ships, once the underdogs, now took advantage of their newly acquired power. The alien ships, which had once been impervious to attack, now took fire from every direction. Their energy shields flickered and collapsed under the pressure of the humans' coordinated strikes. The once mighty fleet was nothing more than a disorganized mess, falling apart under its own weight. Benner and his team fought on, but there was a deep sense of foreboding in the air. They had won many battles, but the emotional toll was becoming unbearable. The alien fleet was retreating, but what had they truly gained? Earth had taken back its cities, but at what cost? How many lives had been lost to get here? The thought lingered in Benner's mind as he led his team toward the final push. The retreat of the alien fleet didn't bring the elation he expected. Instead, it felt like a bittersweet victory. His thoughts were consumed with the memories of his fallen comrades, the ones who had sacrificed everything for this moment. Sergeant Bonner, Miller, and the others. They would never know the final outcome. Benner thought back to the first moments of the invasion, when humanity had been laughed at, dismissed as weak and insignificant. Now, as the alien fleet flooded into the depths of space, humanity had proven its resilience. Despite their losses, despite the overwhelming odds, they had fought back, and they had won. It was an incredible victory, one that would echo throughout history. And yet, as he watched the last of the alien ships vanish into the void, Benner couldn't shake the feeling that the war was far from over. The battle had been won, but the true cost of victory was still weighing heavily on his heart. Benner nodded, feeling the weight of the decision. They had already lost so much, but there was no turning back now. The command center was located deep within the alien flagship. It was the heart of the invasion, the place where all the decisions were being made. If they could disable it, the rest of the alien fleet would lose its coordination, and Earth's forces would have a clear shot at victory. The squad made their way deeper into the flagship, moving quickly through the ship's corridors. The atmosphere was tense, with each step bringing them closer to the heart of the invasion. But as they neared the control room, the worst happened. Another ambush. More alien soldiers, more robots, and an unexpected twist. The AI controlling the entire fleet had grown more powerful, more aggressive. The ship seemed to be alive, its artificial intelligence responding to their every move with calculated precision. The battle grew fiercer, and once again, human casualties mounted. Sergeant Bonner's sacrifice had meant something, but the team wasn't done fighting. They couldn't let the blood of their fallen comrades be spilled for nothing. One final push. The humans reached the control room, and with a last, desperate charge, they fought their way in. The doors slammed shut behind them, and they planted explosives at key terminals, disabling the alien communication systems. It was risky, but it worked. The AI's control over the fleet began to falter, and one by one, the alien warships lost their coordination. The humans had done it. Earth's forces launched one final counterattack. With the alien fleet in disarray and no longer able to coordinate, Earth's military forces began their most powerful assault yet. Ships soared through the sky, unleashing missiles, lasers, and high-powered energy blasts. Alien warships fell one after another, like dominoes, their systems offline, and their crews scrambling to make sense of the chaos. The world watched in awe as humanity, the underdog, fought back and won. The victory was sweet, but it was hard-earned. As Benner stood amidst the wreckage of the alien flagship, watching the last of the invaders retreat, he couldn't help but think of the lives lost, the comrades who had given everything to defend their world. But the fight wasn't over. Humanity had proven its strength, not just in technology, but in spirit, and no matter what came next, Earth would never back down. The tide had turned, but the war was far from over. The alien fleet, once a seemingly unstoppable force, was now in chaos. Their advanced ships, their armies of robots, their AI systems, all were falling apart, piece by piece. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had fought back. But as Earth's forces pressed forward, the alien warlord, the leader of the fleet, realized something. His empire was crumbling. There was no chance of victory now, and every moment that passed pushed his forces closer to annihilation. The retreat was inevitable. In the heart of space, the once proud alien fleet began to scatter. The AI-controlled ships, their engines burning with desperation, attempted to flee. Cloaking devices that had been invincible just hours ago flickered to life once more, but Earth's forces were prepared. The humans had adapted. Their tracking systems, enhanced by the stolen alien technology, locked onto the fleeing ships with terrifying precision. Captain Benner's voice came over the comms, steady yet filled with the weight of the moment. "This is it. We finish this now. Full pursuit. Don't let them get away." The battle was not over, but now it was personal. Human forces chased the retreating aliens, closing the distance quickly. The once imposing fleet, now fragmented and disorganized, seemed like a shadow of its former self. The alien ships, cloaked again, tried to vanish from view, but the humans had cracked their technology. Using the tracking systems they had appropriated from the alien vessels, Earth's forces were able to pinpoint their positions. Every time the cloaking devices activated, a human ship was already on their tail, relentlessly pursuing them. The visuals were stunning. Bright flashes of light erupted through space as Earth's ships launched precision strikes against the alien warships. In the distance, the alien fleet scattered, trying to regroup. Their once steady formation was now a mess of fleeing ships, each desperate to avoid the oncoming human forces. The alien desperation was palpable. It was as though their once pristine, perfect fleet had turned against them. Benner could see it in the chaos. Their once imposing warships were now vulnerable, overwhelmed by their own technology. The humans had taken their weapons, their tactics, and now they were using it against them. The alien warlord, once so confident, had been forced to order a retreat. The AI that had controlled every decision now struggled to maintain control as its fleet disintegrated. Humanity had triumphed, but it had paid a heavy price. And in the end, Benner knew one thing for sure: the war had changed them all. And no matter what happened next, Earth would never be the same again. The final moments of the alien warlord's reign were unfolding. As Earth's forces closed in on the last remaining command ship of the alien empire, a sense of finality gripped the battlefield. The once mighty alien fleet, now broken and scattered, had been crushed beneath the weight of humanity's resolve. It was a victory that seemed almost impossible when the invasion had first begun. Yet here they were, Earth's military, triumphant, standing on the brink of wiping out the last shred of alien power. Captain Benner's command ship, accompanied by the remnants of Earth's fleet, loomed over the alien warlord's vessel like a giant hand reaching for its prey. The alien warlord, whose once unstoppable fleet had been reduced to rubble, now found himself on the receiving end of an overwhelming force. His empire was crumbling, his people broken, and his once proud AI systems, the ones he trusted more than anything, had been outsmarted by the humans. "Captain, we've locked onto the enemy command ship," reported Lieutenant Juno, her voice cold but filled with a sense of finality. "They're completely surrounded." Benner stared at the view screen, watching the alien warlord's ship quiver under the intense pressure of Earth's forces closing in. The battle had been long, and the cost had been great, but now it was over. He could see it in the eyes of the alien warlord, the once mighty leader, now humbled, cornered, and desperate. The AI that had once been supreme, that had manipulated fleets and crushed worlds with ease, had been rendered powerless. The humans had outwitted it. They had turned the tide of the war, using the very technology that had been designed to destroy them. And now, as the alien forces lay defeated, the warlord knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The final confrontation was upon them. The alien warlord, once full of pride and arrogance, now stood in the shadow of humanity's power. His empire had been reduced to nothing more than a shell, and the only thing left to do was face the consequences of his actions. "Mercy." The warlord's voice crackled over the communication channel, weak and broken. "Please, I beg you." The alien warlord, who had once looked down on humanity, now found himself pleading for his life. His once thriving empire was in ruins, and the AI that had once considered itself supreme now lay at the feet of its conquerors. It was a humbling sight. The very leader who had sought to dominate the galaxy was now begging for mercy from those he had once scorned. Benner looked at the image of the warlord on the screen. The alien's once imposing form was now hunched and defeated, his pride shattered. There was no longer any trace of the arrogance that had driven the invasion. Instead, there was only the realization that his empire, his entire existence, had been outclassed by the humans. The warlord's eyes shifted between the Earth forces and the face of Captain Benner, his desperation palpable. The once proud commander, who had destroyed countless worlds in the name of conquest, now saw his empire slipping away. He had underestimated humanity. He had thought Earth was just another weak planet, ripe for domination. But now, as he stared into the eyes of the human captain, he knew the truth. Humanity had become the most powerful force in the galaxy. "We can spare you," Benner said, his voice calm but firm. "But you and your empire will leave Earth's space. You will never return." The words hung in the air like a final decree. Benner had the alien warlord at his mercy, but despite the deep desire for revenge, there was something deeper within him. He had seen the destruction, the loss, the sacrifice. The price had been too high, and as he stood there, gazing at the broken warlord, he knew that vengeance would not heal the wounds of the war. "Leave, and never return," Benner repeated, his eyes hardening. "That is your only option. You have lost." The warlord's face contorted in a mixture of disbelief and humiliation. His empire, built on fear and power, was now being reduced to nothing. The humans had proven themselves stronger, smarter, and more resourceful than anyone had imagined. The once mighty alien empire was no longer a threat. They had been humbled in front of the entire galaxy. The camera panned out, showing the alien warlord's command ship, surrounded by Earth's forces. It was a sight that would be remembered for centuries. The once feared aliens, who had terrorized countless planets, were now reduced to beggars in the eyes of humanity. Their pride had been shattered, their fleet dismantled, and their future left in the hands of their conquerors. In the aftermath of the war, Earth began to rebuild. The cities that had been destroyed were reconstructed, stronger and more resilient than before. The people who had lived in fear now walked the streets with their heads held high. They had been tested, and they had emerged victorious. But there was still work to be done. The galaxy was a vast place, and Earth was still a small, fragile world. There were still dangers out there, still threats that needed to be dealt with. Benner looked out over the rebuilding city, the sun setting in the distance. He could see the changes happening all around him. The war had left scars, but it had also sparked something new. There was a sense of unity among the people of Earth, a sense of purpose that hadn't been there before. The war had brought them together, and now they were determined to make sure it never happened again. As Benner walked through the streets, he saw families rebuilding their homes, soldiers training for the future, and engineers working to reverse engineer alien technology. Earth was becoming stronger, more advanced, and more prepared for whatever might come next. The alien empires that had once ruled the galaxy were now forced to acknowledge humanity's strength. They had underestimated Earth, and now they knew better. In the distance, the Earth fleet stood ready, poised to defend the planet against any future threats. The once weak humans had turned their planet into a fortress. No longer would Earth be at the mercy of alien invaders. Now, the galaxy knew that if anyone was to threaten Earth, they would have to face humanity's fury. Benner paused and looked up at the sky. The stars that had once seemed so distant now felt closer, more reachable. The galaxy, which had once seemed so vast and unknowable, was now a place where humanity could make its mark. No longer would they be looked down upon. The human race had earned its place, and they would defend it at all costs. The war had taken so much, but it had also given humanity something precious: the knowledge that they could survive, that they could fight, and that they could win. Earth's victory had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The alien empires that had once mocked humanity now trembled at the thought of crossing them. "The galaxy thought they could destroy us," Benner said quietly to himself, his voice barely audible over the hum of the city. "Now they know. We fight for our survival. And we always will." It was a simple statement, but it carried the weight of everything that had happened. Earth had faced extinction, and they had fought back. They had defied the odds, and they had won. And now, the galaxy knew that humanity would never back down. They would stand tall, they would stand united, and they would fight to protect their world and their future. The camera pulled away, showing the Earth fleet as it prepared for whatever lay ahead. The stars stretched out before them, filled with possibilities. The war was over, but the journey had only just begun. The galaxy would no longer be the same, and neither would humanity. They had shown the universe that they were not to be underestimated. And as Earth's forces stood ready for any future threats, the message was clear. Humanity would always fight for survival. They had proven it once, and they would prove it again if they had to. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity stood up to its oppressors and turned the tide of war. It was the dawn of a new era for Earth. The galaxy would now have to reckon with humanity's might.